God, I am so sorry. Guys, YouTube. I am sorry, podcast. I'm sorry. My mic was totally muted on the OBS. But yeah, so shout out to Sandy Candy. She's my little mystery person that sent in something that's really awesome. I am so sorry, Discord. I am so sorry. I totally didn't unmute my mic. Um, and apparently I am riding solo today. Um, but yeah, I got this fun little um, article from her today that kind of showed that Blackstone was kind of buying up the market again in 2020. Uh, kind of like what they did in '08. Sorry, I'm totally. Hey, Vincent Brown. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, but they're buying up the market again. Let me try to pull this up again. Uh, kind of like what they did in '06, '08, and everything. And what we know from BlackRock, Blackstone, they are brother companies in a sense. That they were started together or one right off of each other, and I will show you guys that too. Um, but they are, and this is from the New York Post, so we can take it with a grain of salt. And like I said, this is from last year, so we have some things to look for this year, being 2021, with the June 30th date with the memorandums expiring. And so I'm kind of going to be watching them to see if they're going to be buying up more of the different properties and whatnot, like the suburban homes and whatnot. So, all right, let me see if I can share this real quick. La-di-da-di-da. So yeah, if I do have anybody that wants to talk in the Discord, please raise your hand. I'll bring you up here to talk. Um, that's totally cool. All right, let me see. Let me see. All right, so we have this article right here. Let me make this bigger for you guys. And for those in my uh, chats and whatnot. So I'm going to be posting it in the Trade Talk chat, this article, if you want to go ahead and read it. Um, you guys can hear me, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, whoa. Okay, good, 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 good. Um, so yeah, New York Post, um, talking about how basically this Jeff Jacobs was playing golf, and they were trying to buy up some houses and whatnot. They used to be able to go out and just, buy whatever they wanted to without really any competition, but they went to an auction. They had an agreed upon price. The person that was there trying to do the bidding called him and said, "Hey, our ceiling was hit at 85. What do you want to do?" And so he said, "Get it for 87." It jumped to 90, then 95, and wound up selling for $100,000. Um, they did figure out that it was through a company um, called Invitation Homes, which they did find out was owned by Blackstone Group, the world's largest real estate investor, created after a company called Treehouse Group was folded into Blackstone, then renamed in 2012. And so this is, uh, he went on, like this writer goes on, Underwater describes how in the wake of 2008 financial crisis, corporations began buying suburban houses in mass and then renting them out, often for more than residents would have otherwise paid in rent or mortgages. Uh, this has become so common that while the phenomenon didn't exist a decade ago, corporations bought one out of every 10 suburban homes sold in 2018. And so this is kind of an indicator that, we're seeing it happen again, right? Like we are looking at '07, '08 all over again. And seeing Blackstone, BlackRock getting back into, like, they're always constantly buying, different real estate properties. Like they've been buying hotels, they've been buying all kinds of things like that. Um, so for them to be doing it again is something to definitely keep our eye on, right? Because as we know, with when it comes to Blackstone, right? They're a beast, right? And we know that Vanguard also um, has control ownership of them. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my mind map, guys. Um, there it is. So pull this back up. So for those that don't know, here's the mind map. Um, Blackstone or BlackRock's down here. I'm sorry, right here. Vanguard's up here, with having control ownership of BlackRock and Blackstone Mortgage Trust. And Blackstone was the first ever selling the first ever single family rental securitization for 479 million bond in 2013. So we're seeing it all kind of transpire again. So why are we have to kind of again follow the money, right? We always have to follow the money. And we're following the money right back to BlackRock. So I have an inkling feeling that BlackRock and Blackstone they're preparing for what's to come in the market, right? We can kind of see through some of the DD I've been working on, like we've been on this bull run for too long at this point, and everything that goes up, it must come down eventually.
So I have a question. So BlackRock before the '08 crisis, they were doing the exact same thing, which was purchasing houses.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, the housing market was starting to topple, and so they would go in and buy them before anybody else could.
and so like I'm trying to make sense of this. If the prices are so high right now, why are they buying it now but not afterwards?
Well,
When
it's the foreclosures, right? So we already
oh,
it's the foreclosed houses, the bank-owned houses, the houses that are, um, you know, rental houses that the mom and pops are no longer able to keep because people haven't been able to pay their rent and stuff. So that becomes a thing of how much more is this going to take before something bigger happens? And that's why I said June 30th is when kind of the mortgage memorandums and the rental memorandums for the states ends. So, and if you didn't have an agreement with your lender at the time to say, yes, I want these payments pushed to the back, it's very likely that there's a very massive balloon payment due within 30 days of that June 30th date. And so, in the average cost of the average price that someone pays a month for a mortgage is about 2,500. And if you haven't been paying on your mortgage throughout COVID and everything, so that's you're looking at 16, 18 months, you're looking at about $45,000 on average for what people might owe for their home, for their mortgage payments if they didn't protect themselves. So, and I mean, it's not in every case. It's not every case that this happens. Like, it could be that you work it out with your bank and they say, yes, we can push them to the back or whatever. But I do want people to know that there is an option. If you find yourself struggling to be able to make those payments, call your bank and say, yes, I would like these payments pushed to the back of my loan. And then they can restructure it. And so, on top of that, um, it kind of feeds into my Q3, Q4 aspect of where I see in the market for the housing market in the sense because it does take 30, 60, optimistically 90 days for evictions and foreclosures to go through the court systems. Um, and so you're looking at a month to 3 months after the June 30th date that we might see some kind of backlash from all of this. Does that make sense?
it does. And so like I'm not too familiar with the housing market. I'm so sorry if I
No,
ask.
it's oh, I want new questions. I want easy questions.
Yeah, so the June 30th memorandum, like
Hmm.
I don't know exactly what that is or pertains.
So that those memorandums were in place to say that if if you were affected by COVID one way or another, you did not have to pay your mortgage payment, you were protected, or your rental payments, you were protected due to federal government regulations.
I see.
Yes, 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 yes. So um, that creates quite the bubble. So you have, I mean, I have neighbors that live across from me. They have a place in New York that they rent out, and for 14 months, the person that was staying there under the protection of the federal government has not been paying them rent.
Yeah, in California, I know they passed something called SB 90,
Hmm.
which was something for renters and helping them out, but it never helped the landlords. It was basically if you qualified, they would help you pay 80% of to the landlords of what you owe them. But if you don't qualify, the landlords don't get anything.
Right.
It
Well,
was
and
a weird. It was weird.
the landlords, interesting enough, they had randoms too against the mortgages that they held on these properties. So they didn't have to pay either at that time. Granted, it's still building up and whatnots, but um, there are options for the landlords in a sense. You just have to find it. Like nobody, I guess that's my grievance with a lot of stuff, right? Nobody's just gonna, they're not like us and just willingly just giving you information, just putting it out on a silver platter and saying, "Here you go." You have to dig for it sometimes, right? And so um, the federal government, well, they seem like they act like they want to give you money. No, they want you to actually have to still work for it in a sense.
Someone needs to get paid.
That is absolutely correct. Someone has to get paid, and it's not going to be the little guy. Let's face that. But yeah, so that was the main thing that I wanted to say um, with real estate. Like real estate is a it's a fickle thing right now, and Sandy Candy 007, I really appreciate you sending me that um, article because it just feeds into my assumptions to Blackstone at this point. They are definitely the ones to keep an eye on and see what they're doing. What kind of moves are they making, right? Because everybody keeps asking after Tendyland, what do we put our money into? What's safe? If they know about the market, you know what I've been seeing in the market, and people in the Discord have been kind of getting a glimpse at that DD. Um, they're asking, what do we do? And so my own personal thing that I am investing into after Tendyland is the three main staples that were required during 1929, which would be food, clean water, and land slash shelter, right? You have to have a place to live, you have to have food, and you have to have clean drinking water. So, how do you do that? You buy up some farmland that has fresh water with mineral rights. You have to make sure that you have mineral rights, guys, because that's a thing, right? You're not always legally allowed to use whatever is on your property for whatever reason. So you have to make sure that there's mineral rights. And then to build a house, and then you basically start a garden. You get a few chickens, you get whatever. I mean, hell, you go vegetarian, eat, get grow some black beans and whatnot, get some good proteins going. Um, Make sure that you can be self-sustainable. That is the biggest thing that if I've learned anything from studying the 1929s and even the dot-com bubble and '08, you have to be able to be self-sustainable. Because I mean, like we saw, toilet paper of all things to disappear off of shelves, toilet paper. Who would have thought? So I mean, and that could be anything at any time. Really, given any kind of crisis or panic buying or anything like that, it could just be the most random thing that you wouldn't think of. So you just have to be able to prepare for what's to come, because if it does do what has happened in the past during 1929, 1820s, 1720s, or anything like that. I think the bartering system is going to be very interesting. I like the bartering system, but it's going to get interesting for sure. Anybody have anything to say on that? Anybody want to ask a question or anything? Or am I just going to be rambling on for the next 40 minutes? um, all right. I guess I'm going to ramble on. All right. I can do this.
You have someone raising their hand.
No,
Oh,
no, no. I'm pulling up somebody. Don't
okay.
worry, you're not going to be all by yourself.
The true Kenna hour. No, I'm just kidding. Is it McCastle? Is that how you say your name? I've been trying to figure it out. No. Okay.
It's
Um,
Mike Cassell.
Mike Assel. Is that what you said?
I don't see the mic,
I don't
but I
either.
see the M.
Yes, yeah, it's Mike Cassell.
Mike
It's a
Assel.
French last name.
Oh, I love it.
So I have a quick question, Kenna.
Of
Do
course.
you think do you think that the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, in the lockdowns that we've been into was like a conditioning for people in some sorts to get used to the fact that they will be facing some kind of more of a calamity in like an economic collapse type, where basically they will be on their own for a long period of time.
If we want to put our tinfoil hats on, it's a possibility. I actually don't think anybody. Okay, this is my optimist side here, my optimistic approach at things. I don't think anybody saw the impact being so great, right? Um, I don't think they were prepared for it. I mean, nobody saw COVID coming. At least the general public, I should say that. I will say this: the general public didn't see it coming. Um, and oh, there he is. He might need to be brought back up. Um, the general public didn't see it coming, and no one saw the meme stocks coming. No one could have even predicted the situation we're in right now. Because I can almost guarantee that if the apes hadn't come along, if DFE hadn't come along and been like, just shouting at the top of his lungs and Dr. Burry being like, GameStop, GameStop, look at GameStop, this it wouldn't be noticed. It would have, for the most part, like you would have had a few of us in the back rooms, just kind of always monitoring and seeing it, but you wouldn't have it be brought out into broad daylight, the manipulation. So I think we escalated time frames here. I think COVID was an unfortunate event. Um, that really it just shouldn't have happened at all. Um, but I don't know if it was used as a conditioning mechanism. That would be really unfortunate. That would be stupid. What I do know is that the Spanish flu was a precursor to the Great Depression. The Spanish flu was a couple years before the Great Depression hit. So there is a coincidence there. That's a cyclical thing that I noticed, that there's usually some big um, disease or something like that before a major crash as well. So it's history. It's history repeating itself. It's for some reason we can't break out of a vicious cycle. So maybe COVID was supposed to be like the Spanish flu for this era, right? Because I mean, you figure you have like bubonic plague, you have Spanish influenza, you had H1N1, which was during the '08 stuff and everything. So yeah, there's always some kind of um, big like crisis in the uh, disease element, health development area right before a crash. So if I'm just linking them together, that's what I would kind of see as a precursor, I guess. I don't know if that actually answered your question, but I don't think conspiracy wise, if you take off tinfoil hat, conspiracy wise, I don't think it was intended to be like that. Um,
So I don't know if you want to just strictly talk about real estate. I just have
no,
questions.
no. We could talk about anything. That was the main thing that I wanted to touch on was Blackstone, BlackRock, and their goofiness.
Your wackiness. I think like so we can see the issues going on with the stock market, the real estate market, or housing market. Have you researched anything, say, like with commodities or bonds and stuff like that?
Oh, yes, we are tracking those too. Actually, Tyler, my husband, has an app that tracks all the commodities, and lumber fell like 56 points or something. Like, lumber had a little bit of a hit recently, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
Except
another
for,
thing
yeah.
is something that I had friends started to research was what was it like lithium batteries too, and
Yeah.
how they're starting to have like a shortage of it, and that would be pertaining to the semiconductor indexes and stuff.
Yeah, there's actually, interesting enough that the, is it Ford dealership? I think it is Ford. Has a bunch of trucks, brand new trucks that can't go because they can't get a hold of any batteries or something. No, 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 no. It's the computer chip. The computer chip. I retract that. Um,
Yeah,
they can't like the computers. They basically just they can't make them work because they don't have the processors and stuff like that. So they basically have a crap ton of paperweights. Wasted resources at this point because you have all this metal and precious metals into these and the fabrics and whatnot. It's like wasted material sitting there unable to be used. Irritates the hell out of me. I'm sorry, but like I drive past all these brand new car lots, right? Like all the Chevy, the Lambo, the Lexus, whatever. And I see all these cars, all these brand new cars. And I cannot help to think but how much of a waste of resources all of that is because that's just my area, right? That's just in my area. And think of all the car dealerships all around the world. There's just metal sitting there.
exactly.
Oh, we have two questions. Oh, 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 oh. Okay.
Sorry.
Guaranteed.
Hello. I actually did my college final paper on the semiconductor and the computer, like the computer chip shortages as well as the lithium batteries. And what's crazy is if you had bought Ford F-150, let's say 2, 3 years ago, for 50,000, and right now Ford is actually buying for 45,000. So the depreciation of that is only 5,000 because there is no computer chips as well as like lithium batteries that can be found. That's what's crazy.
That is, that's really cool that you did a paper on that.
Yeah, I did a lot of research about lithium batteries as well. So how like the person who used to work for Tesla, he like went outside and created his own company just to build like a recycle lithium batteries and sell it to Tesla because he found out that they were eventually going to run out of lithium batteries, and those shortages with computer chips is because of all the production of the computer chips is based in Vietnam, and there was like a trade war between China and Vietnam, and they want US to resolve it, and US does not have many companies that manufacture computer chips. So they are looking for more companies to build those computer chips as well as lithium battery production to happen in the US.
When you're talking about Vietnam, could it be that you mixed that up with Taiwan?
Uh, I think it was Vietnam and Taiwan both, but I think it was Taiwan as well, which I can recall. Yeah, I think you're right. It was Taiwan, not Vietnam. My bad. Yeah.
Hey, you guys. I'm sorry to interrupt, but GameStop is having a little bit of a run there. If you just wanted to take a moment.
Oh, damn. It's wow. Thank you for calling that one out.
That wasn't me. Somebody was like, "Hey, look at this."
I can.
That is all I say. Thank you.
I'll turn it on for the stream so we can kind of see. There we go. Now we're cool. We have the charts on the podcast now.
Okay.
Oh, no, that doesn't work. Yeah, I'll just keep it there.
Finally.
Finally! Oh my gosh, like it's like I'm a new broadcaster over here or anything.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When are they doing their earnings? They did their earnings already. No.
No, I think it's at 4 or 5. I don't know.
Okay.
5? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, AMC is going over the VWAP right now. Come on, you can do it. For those that don't know, yes, this is what I do to my charts. I sit there and just talk to them and just kind of try to encourage an upward trajectory. For some reason, I feel like it works, but who knows? There is a 3,719 volume wall at 325.08.
Okay, yeah, chart tracking is interesting and whatnot, but
I know,
you
I
know,
know, but yeah.
just a quick distraction. Anyway, we have two new requests from members to speak.
Okay.
So, sorry, I
Mike,
actually can't pronounce your name.
Mike Castle.
What is your question?
I'm not sure if Kenna have noticed, but in the latest Dr. Berry's filing, he has a major position puts on the U.S. bonds.
I have noticed that. I'm still looking into him. He's been doing some funny things, but yes, I'm glad you brought that up. If you want to talk about it, you can. Um, just because it's part of the mind map update that I need to do. So if you want to talk about it, you definitely can. If you have any ideas about it. To me, we do know that the bonds are being shorted and everything already with a few of the big hedge funds and stuff. They're shorting those, and it just kind of lines up with the you know put options with the Nasdaq and the Dow and the S&P. Like it all kind of lines up that he would actually do that because I mean if you look at the treasury bonds and they're being shorted, the the idea to basically say, well, they're going to go down, so you might as well put options on them. It would be the wisest decision and as an investor type expertise. Does that make sense? Um, Let me see if I can. All right, so that's going down. I'll keep this up. It's fine. But yeah, so they I don't know, like there's just a lot of fickle things going on in the market. And if you just look at patterns, then you can definitely see them, right? Let me see if I can pull this up. All right. So taking over the chart real quick. This is part of my DD, guys. Uh, if you anyone that's in Discord, if you guys want to hop over to the um, live stream on YouTube, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Most of you have seen this, but we're looking at trends, right? Like that's all investing is trends. And so if you look at the trends of the Nas, the Dow, and the S&P, um, we're on a we're on a bull run, right? Like it doesn't stop. It has not had the option to correct itself. Like even, as everyone made a big deal about March 2020, February 2020, like this wasn't a big dip, guys. Like uh, '08, '07, these were big dips right here. The dot com back in early 2000s, this was a big dip. Um, hell, '87, back when Greenspan created the Greenspan put that basically said, hey, our economy is not allowed to fail. You can kind of see the hit that big dip that they stopped essentially. Um, it gets to a point where it needs to breathe, right? And that's just the Nasdaq. The Dow shows the same thing. The S&P shows the same thing. Um, and so it just becomes one of these things where you have to look at the market as a whole. Why are we seeing, you know, our meme stocks, right? Our GameStops, AMC. Oh, well, GameStop's having a nice red candle. These random stocks, like they're being shorted. Half the market is being shorted. And that indicates to me we're heading into bearish territory, right? Like if there's a bunch of people that believe that these stocks are to go down, that would be an indicator that it's a bearish market. And we can actually kind of back that up in the sense of, like I said, this is what DD I'm working on. So you guys are kind of getting a nice little a pre-release here, because I haven't even typed any of this up yet. But we can kind of see that with the Dow Jones and Nasdaq, right? And anytime, for the most part, at least in recent history since the 80s, um, when the Nasdaq diverges from the Dow, right? Whenever they create a divergence, when they split off from each other, there's usually some kind of crash. So, like here, you have the Nasdaq and the Dow, they split off from each other, and this is the dot-com bubble. '08 and 10, '08, 9, and 10, they have a little bit of a divergence, just a little bit, and then they crash down. And then we have now. This is our divergence now, and I have not changed this slider. You see the astronomical divergence here, right? And yet the Nasdaq continues to just climb to higher highs, and the Dow goes a little bit higher, but it's trading sideways for the most part. It stays pretty consistent. Um, and I do have what I'll be including in the DD is what the Nasdaq, what the Dow, and what the S&P all track, right? Um, so then you go into the S&P earnings, and anytime the EPS line trades below or crosses below the blue line, there's a little bit of a correction and another correction. And so you have the .com, you have '08, and you have now. We crossed over in March of last year. So if you just take a little Google, because this is what I did. I saw that pattern. I saw these patterns of the NASDAQ and the Dow whenever they're diverging have kind of an indicator of a downward market. Found this written by MarketWatch, published by MSN on their site. The Dow and the Nasdaq are diverging. Why that's honey for the stock market bears. It kind of walks through it and how they've been trading differently. Um, and they're basically saying like, yeah, we're basically heading into bearish territory as the market as a whole. This is not telling you about AMC and GME. This is talking about the overall generalization of the market as that sits. And so we need to kind of be preparing for that, right? So that's all I'll go over for now, because that's a lot to absorb. So if you guys do have questions about it, I will definitely answer them. We do have a hand raised. And guys, anyone in the YouTube too, if you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
Juice. Um,
Hey,
I'm
Juice.
new to Discord and channel. Thank you for insightfulness.
Oh, you're welcome.
Extremely refreshing. Sorry to go back to one of the previous topics, but in terms of semiconductors, when you compare AMD versus NVIDIA, there's a huge price disparity, and just wanted to get your thoughts on this and why is that?
Um, why the price between Nvidia and AMC is different? Is that what the question is?
Yeah, there's a huge disparity. So, for example, AMD price point is around 80 versus NVIDIA's 695, whereas AMD has, in my opinion, a far superior product. And just wanted to get your insight and on this as um, the previous topics of semiconductors came up.
Um, I mean, in my opinion, I I mean they're totally different, sections of the market and what they offer and everything. Um, and then how short is Nvidia being shorted or anything like that? Like, there's a lot of factors that go into uh what causes a stock price to be what it is, right? Um, because what's Nvidia trading at right now?
695.
Okay, so yeah, that um, I highly doubt Nvidia. I'll just even look it up right now. To me, it wouldn't make sense that Nvidia is being shorted, because that would be goofy. Nvidia. Yeah, they have a short volume ratio of 21%, but short borrow fees at 0.25. My guess is they might be being shorted. They're probably being shorted in the sense that because of manufacturing is slowed, and they might think that it's going down and stuff because they can't get the graphics cards and stuff out and things like that. Um, but at the same time, you have to think of the cost of some of the products Nvidia puts out too. Like, they're a well-known company in the gaming industry. I mean, I think I have two pieces in my computer alone, maybe three that come from Nvidia. Um, so I would say, plus you have Nvidia's probably only been shorted maybe the last year and a half, and you have AMC being shorted since 2015, 2017, roughly.
Um, I think the question was about AMD, Advanced
Oh, I thought
Micro
you said
Devices.
AMC. I thought you said AMC. I am sorry. AMD versus Nvidia. Okay, hold on.
That's correct. But what you were just, I was just rolling
Listing.
with it because it
Cool.
still sounded good.
Cool. No. I honestly thought you said AMC. I am so sorry. Okay, AMD. Oh, All right. Let's look at AMD. I don't know why AMD
Hmm.
would be, because didn't they just have their Ryzen? They have their Ryzen graphics cards, right?
Well, there's a lot of things to consider here, in my personal opinion, and I sort of can speak on this matter, seeing how I come from the field of computer science.
Perfect.
NVIDIA, first of all, if you look at the sort of financial statements that are out there, NVIDIA is somewhat looking better than AMD in terms of their profit versus their gross profit. So simple as that. Then you have to look at the kind of products that both companies offer. NVIDIA sort of has tried to diverge in the past with their dedicated, um, for instance, AI chips that they've put out on the market, or mining chips, or anything that is related in terms of high performance computing. That those are basically the fields where, in my personal opinion, NVIDIA is certainly more advanced than AMD. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is that NVIDIA recently acquired ARM, which is like the go-to chip layout designer for embedded devices. If you're not considering stuff like RISC-V, for instance. So with them acquiring such a relatively profitable field, that's also playing a bit more into the stock attractiveness overall. While AMD is still sitting on their desktop CPUs for the most part, many data centers have looked at trying to shift away from the relatively inefficient x64 86 architecture, or AMD 64, how it's also called, towards a more risk-oriented approach, which ARM just so happens to offer chip layouts for. So that is another thing that plays into this. So, well, yes, in terms of the consumer graphic cards market, they are roughly on the same level in a sense. NVIDIA simply has diversified more in terms of actual products, like different product spaces with embedded devices, with chip layouts, with the acquisition of ARM and whatnot. While AMD is sort of still dabbling in its historical business in a sense. Not saying that they're necessarily a bad investment, but Nvidia right now has simply a lot more stuff going for it in terms of innovation. So speculation is probably what is causing the huge price difference that we're seeing.
Thank you. It's very I appreciate it.
My question, Kenna, in regard to the bear market that we are approaching.
Mhm.
If, for example, approaching that's where basically the bears thrive and make most of their money by shorting everything that can be shorted. Aren't we going the apes rain on their parade once AMC and GME and every other stock that's shorted squeezes? That's question one. The question number two is how can we thrive, we as retail investors, in such a market if it becomes bearish and make money also
So,
on the same way?
so in a bearish market, you look to do the opposite. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. Um, Circumstances when there's a bearish market, but you can, once we figure out how all of the inverses work, we can pass that knowledge into you guys. They are very risky. I'm putting that knowledge into your brains right this minute. There are inverses that you can use but they are riskier than options, right? Um, so that's where we have, like, we're all still learning them, very much so. And it's going to take a little bit. Like, we have time, guys. We have time. But you can also do put options on um, different stocks. You know, like we're seeing with the um, Nasdaq, the S&P, and the Dow. They actually, if you look at um, June 18th right now, there's a crap ton of put options. And so, and I think it came out like the Nasdaq had like 39 billion or some odd put options for the 18th and like 14 billion call options. So not a lot of trust in the fact that it's going to go up. um, and the S&P and the Dow are kind of in the same situation. And their inverses show these are market indicators for right now, guys. Like you can use these as market indicators to kind of see if it is going to be turning to a bearish market. Um, but you can also, you know, you can get into commodities. You can invest into commodities and, you know, make money that way. You can There are cryptos. There are safer cryptos than just Bitcoin and stuff. Granted, right now the entire crypto market kind of is suffering, but it will even out. Um, Once, and this is another unfortunate event, is once the foreclosures take place, go and buy the foreclosures up and do what you want to do, rent them out, fix them up, resell them, whatever you want to do. Um, but you just have to have tangible objects um, whenever it comes to the next point, right? Um, Me personally, I'm looking to buy as much land as possible. I like the idea of having land because at the end of the day, that is something. It's a finite amount of something. You can't make more land. That's not a thing, except for like Hawaii's precious little volcano that likes to create land every few years. Um, but at the same time, like you just, there's only so much land in the world, right? And that's something that I'm definitely looking into and tracking the cost of. And there's a reason why Bill Gates, you know, they own so much land in the world, farmland. And that's just something you got to kind of track. What are the top people looking at? What are they buying? You know, um, so there are definite ways. You look into things that will appreciate in value instead of depreciating, and that's why when people say "win Lambo," I roll my eyes. Um, because the minute if you go out and you buy a brand new Lamborghini, the minute you drive it off the lot, it's a depreciating asset. It will not gain any money until it's like 20, 30 years old, and that's if you keep it that long. Um, so yeah, I challenge everybody to find appreciating assets to invest into for the next plays. So whether that's crypto, that's NFTs, um, different stocks that we're trying to find the safe stocks. Um, Tech I don't think is safe right now. It's too volatile. Um, but there's different plays that we can do for sure. Does that all make sense, guys? All right, we got about 10 minutes left of the stream today. So if we have other questions or if anyone in the YouTube chat wants to ask questions, you guys are more than welcome to reach out. Um, I don't have much more on housing and stuff at the moment, unfortunately. Um, we've kind of gone over the homeowner insurance stuff. That for those that don't know, and if you live in places that are flood prone, tornadoes, fires, hurricanes, and you haven't checked your premiums lately, if you are a homeowner, go make sure those are going to be okay because there have been some reports of 20 to 40% increases around the zip codes that are affected by those things. And then if you are renting, start kind of asking if your lease isn't up yet, start kind of asking what their ballpark figures are going to be, because if they in these same areas, you could start seeing an increase, a more drastic increase, like the maximum increase they can um, for rent because of these increases for insurance and taxes as well. If that makes sense, guys. But yeah, so um,
We do actually have two questions
okay,
here.
let's bring them up. Let's bring them up. Oh, oh. Totally left.
Before you end on the stream, I'm kind that you can go over and do a quick summary in regard to the real estate, because I think few people have just joined in and they might have missed that first part
Yeah,
about
for
real
sure.
estate.
For sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. I totally accidentally just left. And then
Just as a quick intermission, AMC Red Nose and a little bit of a bull run.
nice. And then Anhe Danya. I've never been able to say your name. Anhe Danya.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that AMC is pushing.
Oh. All right. So for those that missed it, we were sent a very fun article by Sandy Candy, and it was basically about it was from the New York Post, and hold on, I can't find it now. But that they were Blackstone is now buying up, or has been since 2020, buying up the suburban real estate. And so we saw this back in 06, 07, 08 and stuff, and they had they have a company called Invitation Homes that they basically merged with or whatever. They merged into Blackstone. And for those that don't know, Blackstone and BlackRock are brother companies. Um, one started out of the other. And back in 08, they were buying up homes. They turned them into rentals. They had rental businesses and things like that. And they actually started part of the BTO, the Bespoke Tranche Opportunities. And so now they're finding, again, this was posted in 2020, but they are buying up houses again. So it's just something to really consider what's going on right now. If and why that's a problem is that if big companies and big corporations are buying up housing like that, then it's going to limit the amount of houses that are available for regular people to buy, right? So that creates a massive housing shortage. Um, and we already are seeing that. That's why we have prices and that are, we have a house in Michigan going for listed for 800,000 going for 1.2 million. We have houses going for astronomical numbers, and that's creating a bubble that is untouchable. Or should be untouchable, and it's gonna pop. We can't sustain it. It's not sustainable, especially with how cost of living is and wages and everything. They don't match up. They just don't match up. So um, there's something to definitely keep an eye on, for sure. Anybody else have questions? Yes. Oh, all right. Any final thoughts from anybody today? All right, guys. I am going to call it. If people that are in the YouTube want to continue the conversation, we do continue the conversation after the podcast in a more open forum, because not everybody's comfortable talking on YouTube and being broadcast all over the internet. So I will see you guys down in the market trade while we finish out the day for the last half hour during the power hour. And we will see you guys again on Friday.